From massive herbivores to tiny carnivores, prehistoric Earth was filled with some of the strangest animals that ever existed. Welcome to the Primalia Better Know a Dino series, during which we provide fun and memorable profiles of some of our most popular prehistoric pals. From the fearsome Tyrannosaurus rex to the majestic Brachiosaurus, each episode will uncover amazing details about these incredible creatures. Let's talk about the Stegosaurus. Stegosaurus species had lengths of up to 9 meters or 30 feet and weighed around 2,000 to 5,000 kilograms, or roughly 4,000 to 8,800 pounds. And this magnificent monster is perhaps one of the most iconic dinosaurs ever to walk the earth. But what are some other key facts about this dinosaur? What did it eat to get so big? And how could its armor compare to a modern-day tank? And how did it get such a unique name for its gnarly spiked tail? Let's find out. It seems like everyone loves the Stegosaurus. This dinosaur has gained massive popularity in recent times thanks to movies like The Land Before Time and shows like Dino Squad. It has an easily recognizable row of large bony plates running along its back and formidable tail spikes. A massive herbivore, this creature walked the Earth during the late Jurassic Period, about 155 to 150 million years ago, in what is now North America. It was first unearthed in 1877 by the famous paleontologist Othniel Charles Marsh. The Stegosaurus was found during the famous Bone Wars, a period of fierce fossil hunting and rivalry between Marsh and another paleontologist named Edward Drinker Cope in the western United States from the 1870s to the 1890s. The first fossils of the Stegosaurus were found in the Morrison Formation of Colorado. Upon making his discovery, Marsh named the dinosaur Stegosaurus armatus in 1877. The name Stegosaurus comes from the Greek word stegos, meaning roof, and saurus, which we all know means lizard. But why the weird name? Why roof lizard? Marsh gave it this name because he initially thought the plates must lay flat over the dinosaur's back like a roof. Of course, we know now that this assumption was wrong. The plates instead extend from the spine. Thankfully, although Marsh's initial fossils were incomplete, they were enough to identify this new dinosaur and inspire more research. As more complete specimens were found over the years, scientists were able to build a clearer picture of what Stegosaurus looked like and how it lived. What you may not know is that there were several species of the genus we commonly call Stegosaurus, just like there existed several species of Homo to include Homo sapiens and Homo erectus. Over time, studies and the emergence of more Stegosaurus fossils led to the discovery of several species like the Stegosaurus stenops, whose plates were not solid bone but were filled with a network of blood vessels, and the Stegosaurus ungulatus, which had longer tail spikes compared to other Stegosaurus species. The varied species of the Stegosaurus was any scientist's dream, as it gave them more clues about the dinosaur and ultimately led to today's understanding of the creature. Stegosaurus certainly has a unique look. It's often depicted as a gentle giant, even with its iconic plates and spiked tail. Stegosaurus was a medium-sized dinosaur, with adult length as mentioned being about 25 to 30 feet or 9 meters long, but also standing around 14 feet tall or 4.25 meters at the hips. This is the same size as a standard city bus, roughly the length of a typical wooden telephone pole or 3 compact cars packed side by side. If you stood side by side with its hips, it would be like looking up at a standard basketball hoop. If you factor in the plates on its back, the height would be like looking at someone at the top of a double-decker bus. The plates themselves were large. They could be about 2 feet or roughly 1 meter tall and wide, basically the size of a small coffee table. With that size, the Stegosaurus's weight shouldn't come as a surprise, as the dinosaur weighs between 2 and 5 tons, or 2,000 to 4,000 kilograms. That's the same weight as 1 to 2 large SUVs. To put it another way, a fully grown Stegosaurus could weigh the same as 1 and more likely 2 adult African elephants. The Stegosaurus's length and height is comparable to modern tanks. So, could a Stegosaurus take on a modern tank? Well, no, it wouldn't be a fair fight. Besides their big guns, modern tanks are much heavier because of modern materials. For example, an M1 Abrams tank has a length of 9.77 meters or 32 feet, a width of 3.66 meters or 12 feet, a height of 2.44 meters or 8 feet, but its weight is an astonishing 62 tons. For all that body bulk, the Stegosaurus had a small, narrow head to go with its bruiser body and, of course, famous bony plates that ran down its back from neck to tail. These plates may have had multiple purposes and were likely used for defense, keeping cool, or even showing off. Surprisingly, the plates weren't solid, but rather had a honeycomb-like structure inside, which made them lighter while still offering amazing protection. Some scientists think they were used to regulate body temperature, while others believe they were more for show, to attract a mate or scare off rivals and predators. The plates might have even helped Stegosaurus recognize others of its kind. They were embedded in the skin and weren't fused to the skeleton, so they were flexible and could move a bit if a T-Rex wanted to take a bite out of one. The tail of the Stegosaurus is iconic. The tail was armed with typically 4 long spikes, although it could be more or less, and this part is known as the thagomizer. The Stegosaurus tail was its best defense against predators. These spikes could be swung with fatal force to fend off predators like the scary Allosaurus. Paleontologists have even found the bones of predators with puncture wounds that match the shape of Stegosaurus's tail spikes, suggesting it was pretty darn good at this tactic. But why is this part of Stegosaurus's anatomy called a thagomizer? The term thagomizer was humorously coined by cartoonist Gary Larson in his comic strip The Far Side. In the specific cartoon, a group of cavemen is depicted attending a lecture about dinosaurs. The lecturer points to a diagram of a Stegosaurus's tail and refers to the spikes at the end of the tail as a thagomizer, named after the late Thag Simmons. What started as a joke has since been formally adopted as scientific terminology by paleontologists worldwide. Moving on from armor, the front legs of Stegosaurus were shorter than its back legs. Now this might seem goofy, but evolution can drive some strange adaptations depending on the environment, and it served a purpose as it gave it a signature arched back that propped up those menacing plates, and most certainly made swinging its famous tail easier. This particular dinosaur consistently walked on all fours, and its movement was likely slow and steady. Surprisingly, even the plates and thagomizer weren't the craziest part of the Stegosaurus, as one of the most talked about features of the Stegosaurus is its brain, or lack thereof. This dino had a tiny skull with a brain only about the size of a walnut and weighing around 80 grams. This is one of the smallest brain-to-body ratios of any dinosaur. This instance ratio has led to the stereotype of Stegosaurus as a slow, not-so-bright creature. However, it's tough to measure intelligence in extinct animals. Plus, brain size doesn't always equal smarts. In fact, the brain issue was so puzzling that there was a time when scientists thought Stegosaurus might have had a second brain in its hip area. However, this theory has since been debunked, as the spot once thought to house a second brain was later discovered to be the sacral ganglion. This ganglion, although larger than the Stegosaurus's actual brain, likely helped control its hindquarters rather than handling complex thoughts. But don't be fooled by its small brain. The Stegosaurus wasn't just a mindless eating machine. It had well-developed senses and motor skills that helped it survive in its environment and interact with other dinosaurs. Its small brain size might have been an adaptation to its plant-eating lifestyle, where big brains weren't as necessary as, say, staying on guard and finding food. So if it focused on food, what exactly did it eat? As a herbivore, the Stegosaurus mainly munched on low-lying plants. Its beak-like mouth was excellent for stripping leaves. The Stegosaurus also had leaf-shaped teeth. While its teeth weren't great for chewing, in combination with its bird-like beak, they were just fine for tearing plants. Because of its body structure, the Stegosaurus probably stuck to eating plants that were close to the ground, much like a modern-day cow. We can observe that the position of its mouth and the small size of its head meant foraging in low-lying vegetation while using its spiked tail to sweep back and forth, discouraging predators from sneaking up behind it. With its small, somewhat weak jaw, Stegosaurus didn't do much chewing, which suggests it might have relied on its stomach to get the job done. The Stegosaurus likely swallowed its food whole, letting it ferment in a big gut to break down the tough plant material. Like some other plant-eating dinosaurs, Stegosaurus likely swallowed stones, known as gastroliths, which helped grind up its food in its stomach. There's still a lot we don't know about Stegosaurus's behavior and social life, but some evidence suggests it might have been a loner, while other clues indicate it could have lived in small herds. Most scientists trust the herd theory more because the way its fossils are often found together suggests that the Stegosaurus might have hung out with others of its kind, possibly for protection or to find food. So that aside, what about baby stegosaurs? How did they grow up? We don't know a whole lot about how Stegosaurus reproduced, mainly because no one has found definitive Stegosaurus eggs or nests. However, like other dinosaurs, Stegosaurus likely laid eggs and may have taken care of its young to some extent. The little ones would have hatched and then gone through some major growth spurts before reaching adulthood. According to studies, Stegosaurus likely grew quickly, reaching its full size in just a few years. The young Stegosaurus most likely had smaller plates and spikes compared to adults, which could have grown and developed as they got older. Basically, their growth patterns were similar to those of other large plant-eating dinosaurs, with a focus on fast growth during their early years. So what ultimately happened to these cool dinosaurs? While the Stegosaurus, along with other giant dinosaurs from the late Jurassic period, vanished from Earth around 150 million years ago. The exact reason for their extinction is still a mystery, but similar to many other species, it likely happened due to a mix of changing environments, competition with other animals, and possibly disease. An important fact is that by the time the asteroid event wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago, the Stegosaurus had already been long gone, with its place in nature taken over by other plant-eating dinos. Research on the Stegosaurus is dynamic, and our knowledge changes as new discoveries come to light. For example, for a long time, paleontologists thought Stegosaurus had two neat rows of plates, either in pairs or staggered, to protect its backbone. But since the 1970s, new findings and a closer look at old Stegosaurus fossils have led experts to believe that the plates alternated along the spine in more or less one row, as no two plates from the same dinosaur are alike. Because these plates were full of blood vessels, their alternating pattern fits the theory that they helped with thermoregulation, with the idea suggesting that the plates acted like radiators, cooling the body when it was too hot, or like solar panels, collecting heat when needed. In the end, the Stegosaurus is a perfect example of the wild variety and wonder of prehistoric life. With its spiky armor, eye-catching plates, and curious behavior, the Stegosaurus continues to capture our imagination. As we dig up more fossils and use cutting-edge technology in paleontology, our knowledge of Stegosaurus and its world will only grow. But what do you think? Were the Stegosaurus dumb? Do you think you could be a Stegosaurus cowboy and manage a herd of Stegosaurus while driving a tank? And who would win in a fight between a Stegosaurus and the almighty Tyrannosaurus Rex? Let us know what you think about the Stegosaurus and which dinosaur you'd like us to explore next in the comments section below. While you're at it, why not hit the like and subscribe buttons to learn all about the living wonders of prehistoric times. Until next time, stay curious.